Everyone, thank you for joining us today. In a classic bait and switch move, we don't have Toby here with us today, just Hayden, unfortunately. Fortunately, Hayden is at our clinic at GTC Legacy treating patients today. So you might hear a little background noise, but that's because he's in the clinic and not at home. Toby may have made more noise. I'm not sure. Let me go ahead and give Hayden's intro, and then we'll get him started. Hayden received his bachelor's degree in human physiology from the University of Oregon and completed his doctorate of physical therapy at UT Southwestern Medical Center. Hayden started working at Greater Therapy Centers in Plano in 2018. He enjoys playing and watching sports, go Ducks, spending time with friends and family, and participating in outdoor activities like hiking, fishing, and camping. Hayden sees patients, like I said, at Greater Therapy Centers in Plano at our GTC Legacy location. All right, Hayden, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to mute myself. If anybody has any questions, type in the question box. We'll try to get to those at the end. Otherwise, take it away, Hayden.
All right, thank you for that introduction, Brad. Yep, sorry, it's just me this morning. I know a lot of you are tuning in just to see Toby. You can send all your complaints to bmayfield@gtc-pt.com, and hopefully we can get some traction for next time. Anyways, today, again, my name is Hayden Taylor, physical therapist at the Plano Legacy Clinic. I will be talking about walking programs to stay fit and healthy. So let's get into it. Today's objectives, I want to teach you to understand the benefits of walking, learn what the research suggests, and how to tailor programs and implement programs to fit your needs. And then I also want to talk about walking with COVID-19 and the precautions and safety measures that you need to take. So why walk? Walking has numerous amounts of benefits: weight loss, chronic management of conditions, strengthening bones and muscles, improved mood, a whole slew of psychological factors that walking can provide. Studies say that walking reduced rates of chronic disease and has the largest impact of any form of exercise. So, what more? What more needs to be said? American Heart Association physical activity recommendations. So what they suggest, what the research says, is that for moderate intensity exercise, such as walking, the research suggests that you should get out and be active for at least 150 minutes a week of moderate exercise. They suggest breaking that into 30-minute increments, 5 days a week. Other forms of moderate intensity exercises include things like lawn mowing, playing tag with your kids, a nice bike ride, leisurely game of badminton or volleyball in the backyard. So again, doing that 5 days a week for about 30 minutes at a time can get you that recommended amount of time to see benefits. As far as vigorous exercise, you don't need quite as long as a duration. So 5 days, 15 minutes at a time, you can get the same or close to the same benefits. And that would be things like jogging, riding bikes uphill or faster speeds, swimming laps, playing more recreational sports such as basketball or soccer. So when it comes to exercise intensity, there's a couple ways to gauge where you're at. The first is more of a subjective measure. So really, it's how you feel. Is your heart rate racing? Are you having more trouble getting oxygen? Are you sweating? That kind of thing. For a moderate intensity exercise, such as a walking program, you really want to shoot for that 4 out of 6 range if you're going to base it on a 1 to 10 scale. At this point, you're breathing a little bit heavier. You can hold a conversation, but you can't sing. You're starting to notice that your shirt's getting a little sweaty. That is typically when you find yourself at that 4 to 6 range. Anything higher than that is considered more rigorous. When you get to the point where you're having trouble talking to your friend as you're exercising, if you're really starting to perspire, those typical factors will say it's more of a vigorous or hard activity. The other way to kind of gauge your exercise intensity is more of an objective measure, which is basing it off your maximum heart rate. So for moderate activity, research says that you typically want to stay about 50 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. And for vigorous activity, that's a little bit higher, at more of a 70 to 80% of your maximum heart rate. You might say, what does that mean? Well, as humans, our heart has the capability of beating at a certain maximum. There's formulas that you can use to kind of figure out what that is and what that percentage is specifically for you. At the end of this presentation today, I'll show you a link that you can go enter some information about yourself and find that 50 to 70 or 70 to 85 range that's fitting to you. All right, preparing to walk. So some things to consider before going out and walking. First of all, always a good idea to check in with your doctor or physical therapist to see if your doctor has cleared you for a walking program. Things to be aware of, if you've had previous incidents of hip or knee injuries or any cardiovascular conditions, definitely a good idea to check in with your doctor before pursuing a walking program. Wearing the right gear. So some people might just think, walking program, oh, it's simple, get out there and start walking. Well, that's true. It's important to take in factors like gear. So here in Texas, our summers get pretty toasty. So always consider what you wear. Breathable materials, things that wick away water, moisture, that kind of thing are going to be important in the summer months. Also brightly colored or reflective materials if you're walking at dusk or towards night time. On the opposite end of the spectrum, in the wintertime, you want to find something that's layered, something that can retain heat and not cause you to shiver or spend excess energy fighting the cold. Proper footwear is a big component as well. Typically, you want something with a thick sole, a nice cushion, something that's flexible at the arch, and something that has good tread. They say that really when walking, you want to replace your shoes 3 to 6 months. Now that's based on a 150 minute activity week. If that doubles, then the amount of time before replacing your shoes obviously decreases. So say that you bump up to maybe 300 minutes or about 7 hours of activity each week. That number would reduce to about 3 months before replacing a good pair of shoes. Or the other way to decide is if you hit about 500 miles walking. So again, later in this program, I'll show you some cool apps and applications that you can use to track your distance. So having a general understanding of how many miles you've put on each shoe will give you the right judgment to replace them. Lastly, before going out on a walk, it's always good to plan your route. Go somewhere that's familiar for you, that you know where you are, so you don't get lost. If you need help, you know the businesses around, that kind of thing. Avoid places with uneven ground or uneven terrain, especially when you're starting out, as those will be more challenging for you. Continuing on safety before going out and walk, touched on it earlier. You want to be aware of the weather, especially here in Texas. We've been known to get hot in the summer times. Typically from noon to 3 is the hottest time of the day. So knowing that, plan your walks accordingly. Heat exhaustion is a serious matter that is frequent with outdoor activity in the hotter months. Signs and symptoms of heat exhaustion include lightheadedness, dizziness, inability to speak properly, excessive sweating, that kind of thing. So knowing those signs and symptoms will help to keep you safe. If you do end up experiencing those symptoms, finding somewhere to take a rest break, getting under shade, giving someone a call, all important. Harsh conditions. So we also, here in Texas, we've been known to see some natural disasters, things like hurricanes, monsoons, that kind of thing. So checking the weather before you go out is always a good idea. You never want to get caught in a rainstorm, lightning, that kind of thing. Other general safety tips, I mentioned it earlier, walking in daytime, probably a good idea as there's more people out and about, more witnesses, that kind of thing. Don't walk alone. If you do walk alone, always a good idea to let someone know. ahead of time. Knowing the area, obviously very important, but something that the research suggests is that don't always do the same route. Sometimes people will tend to catch on to the routes you're taking, and bad things happen. So being aware of that, always a good idea to switch up your route. And lastly, carry a phone or safety device, whether it be pepper spray, something like that is, not required, but maybe recommended in some of the sketchier areas. All right, getting into goals. So with the walking program, it's always important to set goals. Start with something realistic, track your progress, and then finding ways to stay motivated. University of California put out a study that said that if you physically write down your goal, you're 42% more likely to stay compliant to that goal and achieve that goal. So with that alone, I suggest, hey, write down your goal, make a calendar, put it somewhere where every day you'll see that goal in front of you, and that'll help you achieve your goal. Start with a realistic goal. If you haven't done much walking or exercise, plan 5-10 minutes a day. Start easy, something that you can tolerate, and slowly build yourself up. It's better to start with a realistic goal than something really absurd and know that, hey, it might not be feasible. Track progress. So it's always good to look back on your progress and have that motivate you. Again, there's a ton of apps that I'll talk about here later, but keeping track of your progress, and that way you can evaluate yourself as you progress through your walking regimen. And then find ways to stay motivated. Reach out to friends, have family hold you accountable. If for some reason life gets in the way and you get out of your walking program, no need to be discouraged. Start over, find again that realistic goal that you can get back on track with. All right, so we're living in some crazy times with COVID-19, and so I wanted to touch base on walking programs during these times. It's always a good idea to check your local guidelines. State and county recommendations differ from area to area, so go online, find your public health records, and see what the research is saying. If they do approve you that walking's okay, then be smart about it. Always practice social distancing. That means about 6 feet between you and anyone else. Could lead to a lot of crossing the street, so head on a swivel. Don't listen to music too loud. Always be aware of cars and other objects that might interfere with that. Wear a mask. I know they're not comfortable, but they're important for safety, especially in this time that COVID-19 is so prevalent. And lastly, be aware of using the public amenities, water fountains, public benches, that kind of thing, covered in germs. Plan ahead, bring your own water, bring some hand sanitizer, wash your hands before and after your walks, that kind of thing. All right, so here are a few apps that I found to be beneficial when beginning a walking program. Map My Walk by Under Armour is a program that I personally used. It's a GPS program that will help you to find routes, track your pace, push you to achieve your goals, that kind of thing. Great app. Step app pedometer, classic twist with the pedometer on an iPhone. It's just a fancy version of it. Counting steps is a good way to keep track of walking and progress. World Walking is an app that I found that to be pretty neat. It lets you virtually walk over 200 routes around the world, whether that be walking the Great Wall of China or walking the mountains in Peru. You use your phone, and as you're walking your local neighborhood, it comes up with history knowledge, it comes up with pictures, that kind of thing, to turn that average neighborhood walk into something a little bit more entertaining. Cash for Steps is a app that you can actually get paid for to walk. Sounds pretty good to me. They have different incentives. Once you log in and make an account, they give you credits and actually pay you for your progress. And the last one is Citizen, which is a safety app. What that app does is it allows you to see police activity in your area, lets you to be safe while walking. Here are a couple internet resources that you might find beneficial when starting a walking program. There's already a lot of walking groups out there. The Heart Association on their website has a link that you can use to find local groups or even start your own group if there's not one in your area. The heart rate zone calculator, as I mentioned earlier, when doing a walking program, it's best to stay at that 4 to 6 out of 10 range, that moderate intensity. Typically that equates to about 50 to 70% of your max heart rate. This online calculator can help you to discover what that unique heart rate is for you. And then lastly, a program that will actually help you customize your very own walking program, a 12-week walking schedule to keep you on track and keep you progressing. All right, now let's have some fun. So here's a few fun facts that I came across during my research that I thought I'd share with you. A 2000 study reported that walking regularly, 3 times a week or more, for a half an hour or more saves $330 a year in healthcare costs. Imagine if everyone were to just been on a simple walking program and how much money that could save. Pretty remarkable. All right, to burn one plain M&M candy, a person needs to walk the entire length of a football field. Pretty wild. Use an estimated 200 muscles during walking. Takes a person walking non-stop 347 days to walk around the entire world. George Megan currently holds the world record for the longest unbroken walk. He walked 19,000 miles in 2,425 days, covering the entire Western Hemisphere. Forrest Gump has nothing on him. And lastly, studies say that doing physical therapy, especially at greater therapy centers, can boost your walking speeds up to 5,000%. That's just, that's what the research is saying. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. It's just, that's what the research says. So. All right. I hope this was beneficial. If you need additional help, greater therapy centers and our therapists are here to support you. We have over 20 locations in the DFW area. We're more than happy to evaluate you and get you set up on a specific plan that suits your needs. Connect with us on social media for more educational experiences like this one, and give us comments and feedback so we can further, help those in the future. So if you have any questions, please reach out to your local greater therapy centers and we'd love to help you. Thank you for your time, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Hayden. Looks like most people hung with us even though you didn't have a dog, so I guess they do respect what you're saying. Good information. Thank you so much. And I wanted to remind everyone that we host these webinars every weekday, 10 a.m. through May 1st, a different topic hosted by a different therapist. So you can hit our Facebook page to get that information and sign up. All of these presentations are available on our YouTube channel approximately 1 hour after they are completed. So you can go to Greater Therapy Center's YouTube channel and watch any or all of the presentations that have been given so far. And don't forget that we do have telehealth available at all of our centers. So if you are still nervous about coming in, need an evaluation, need to talk with a therapist, we do have telehealth visits set up and available. All right, so we're going to go ahead and end the presentation. Thanks a lot for being here, everyone. Hayden, we have one question real quick. Let's see. How do you feel about power walking?
Power walking. So power walking is great. Obviously it's kind of that bridging between the normal brisk pace and a jog. So while that would still fall into that moderate intensity exercising, you may not need quite that 150 minutes of performance to burn the same amount of calories and get the same effects. But yeah, absolutely a great form of exercise, easy on the joints.
All right, excellent question. Thank you. And again, thanks for joining us. We're going to go ahead and end the webinar now. Give us a call if you need any help. Thanks, everyone.